Before I started using Midjourney, I would have a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration, which I would never explore, never, ever, ever. Because to do so, even with 3D tools, which I had gotten very good at, it would take me a week to create that image.
Yeah.
So you have to be much more selective. But now, any errant thoughts, any inspiration, no matter how wacky, gets explored and gets explored fully. And sometimes there are lessons from there, and sometimes there aren't.
Welcome, design enthusiasts. I'm Mark Miskis, your host, and we delve into the ever-evolving world of interior design. Whether you're a seasoned designer or someone who simply appreciates the beauty of well-designed spaces, this podcast is your passport to the future of interior design. So buckle up and join us on this thrilling journey beyond interior design. But let's get to the chase, shall we? Should we be concerned about the potential loss of our design jobs due to the rise of AI? Is opportunity the new reality of AI and interior design? Is that the word, opportunity? Have you ever wondered how AI is shaping the way we envision and create spaces? Is it a mere tool, or is it transforming the very essence of design itself? These are the questions that keep us up at night, and we're here to unravel the answers. Or are we, interior designers, going to face extinction in the coming years? To navigate these uncharted waters, we've brought back an exceptional guest, someone who consistently pushes the boundaries of what's possible, not to elevate the industry, but to shake it up. It may not always be intentional, but he's doing it. Our guest today is Kristoff D'oria di Cirie, a creative director, hospitality and retail interior designer, and brand experience designer, a true artist in every sense. Please give him a warm welcome to Kristoff as he steps into the Beyond Interior Design ring once again, because together we'll explore the critical question: how shocking is the future of interior design? Welcome, Kristoff.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. And really too generous and too kind. It's very flattering. Thank you.
Yeah, you're breaking all the records. Third time here. Welcome. Yeah, cool. Another topic, not about brand experience. Well, of course, it has to do with brand experience, but we're talking about AI. We could talk for hours, so let's get started on this topic. Listen, I know technology has always happened. It's the tractor, the car, the computer, the plane, the boat, the thought, the books.
We're on Zoom right now.
Yeah, so these were inventions that changed the way, changed the things in big ways, definitely. And now AI. I'm sometimes a bit worried, because where do we end up with our profession?
Where do we end up with our profession? That's a really good question. I suppose it comes down to the question of what you think the profession is. I think a lot of anxiety comes from the feeling that we're technicians. And that's actually a way that a lot of clients view us as technicians, as giving form to their ideas and not having an expertise and a sensibility of our own. Giving an answer to AI is actually part of a more holistic question about our industry and our careers as professionals. So,
can AI do the job, in your opinion, right now? Can it do the job?
It can do something that looks like the job. It does a very good impersonation of an interior designer, but it's not an interior designer. I think a really good way to look at it is, let's say, the first question is, are you a technician or are you a designer? Are you being paid by your clients to make drawings and visuals, or are you being paid by them to understand their needs, to understand their life, and to create an environment that is conducive to their lifestyle? all in obviously a very beautiful and aesthetic way. So in that sense, if you just view it as the technical part, AI can do a very good job, very, very good job. Sure, the images aren't perfect, but they get you a long way there. And a good way to view, if you want to use AI, is view them as a junior. So let's say you're a creative director or an art director or a senior partner in a large design firm. You don't sit there at your drafting table, drawing every single plan, every single concept, doing watercolors. You don't do that anymore. You have an army of juniors. The design work is still your own. They may have drawn it, they may have measured it, they may have even picked out the swatches, but the concept, the vision, and the consultation that you have with your client is entirely yours. That's your work.
So it's a kind of outsourcing to automation or to technology or to a person.
Sure.
Is it the way you see it that way?
Yeah, I do. And, you know, some people don't like the images that come out of AI, and that's absolutely fine. There are going to be lots of clients who aren't interested in these pictures. They prefer the more tactile sketch. They prefer the swatch boards with this fabric next to this reference and, you know, whatever. So that's not, for them, that's not going to be a problem. What it can do for you is work as, I like to think of it as Pinterest on steroids. So
Pinterest on steroids,
well,
yes.
Sure. Instead of looking around, you know, for hours to find references that you want, you can get those references like that. Not necessarily as the finished product, but to help your design process.
Yeah.
And so often in my work, at least, I might have 100 ideas and 99% of them are absolutely terrible. So, so
yes, yeah, they cannot be all good. No, definitely.
No, well, one or two is obviously is fine enough. But to be able to have a tool to explore those ideas, give them breath, give them a space to kind of to be explored, and then to discard them is really useful. And that's something that AI can do for you.
Yeah, I want to hear later on how you're using exactly what it is that you do to get out the images you really want, because it's not that you just say, "Hey, give me your brand new idea of a next shop or home in this style," and it's done in a few seconds. That's not how it works. So I want to know more about it. But so what is it? If you're using AI, what is it that people are buying then? Because we know with SketchUp, for example, it's very easy to sit with SketchUp at the table with your client and show them in a few seconds what happens if you color a wall, if you take a wall down, whatever, you change the shape, you can do anything in a split second. And people accept that and they love it. Sure. But with AI, you can imagine with pushing one button, if you have the right settings or so, people are like, whoa, that you did it really fast to show me what kind of design it is. And so what it is, how does it feel when people are buying that? If you can show them that it is, who's the artist and how does it work?
Well, I think I'll sort of answer that in a roundabout way. And I hope you'll all forgive me, but there are interior designers out there, and I'm sure you're aware of this away. They can charge tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars for one watercolor sketch that they might have knocked up in half an hour, picking out some key items that might have taken them an hour. That doesn't reduce their rate. Their design is still good. Just because they've become proficient at it doesn't mean that you pay less. You're paying for the speed, you're paying for the time it took to get to that point. So to go back to your question, to create a design isn't just instantaneous. It isn't about the image. It's about the years of education and process and study and even the time getting to know the client that's distilled within that image. It's not about the image. It's about the referencing, it's about the education, it's about knowing what kind of textiles are going to work for what kind of lifestyles. It's about knowing that, oh, actually, you can't put that kind of corbel in that type of house. All these elements, AI doesn't understand. AI gives you an approximation, but it doesn't finish the job. And that's where your job comes in.
Okay, yeah, I would like to repeat that. What you said, I always tell my coaching clients or on LinkedIn or whatever, it's not about the time you're investing. And a lot of designers are calculating with hourly rates. And I know some people that are here in the call. They know my story. So it's about the value you're giving. If you are an expert in working really fast and getting the right answers very quickly in the right designs, and because you know how to use tools and how to use the time of your client in a wise way, because they are not looking forward to a design trajectory of months.
No.
Sometimes it will take 9 months, a version 27.2. If you can tell them, hey, we work together a few hours or a few days, and in 4 weeks the whole design is ready because I work this and this way.
Yeah.
Who would like to pay more for the designer in a 4-week trajectory or the one with 9 months?
Well, that's a philosophical question, and that's definitely one that I agree with personally.
Yeah.
There is this idea that if you do it quickly, it should cost less because you spent less time on it. But as you said, let's say you're doing a house. Every week, every month that goes by costs more money in everything.
Yeah.
You're not in your home yet. It's not there. So you're paying for that convenience. I mean, in the arbitrage world, in design, you pay for rush jobs. You pay more for rush jobs, not less. So, so that's where I fit in this. And yeah, this all goes back into the question about AI. Yes. Let's say a tool like Midjourney generates the final image in about 10 seconds. That's not true. That's not the true process. There's a wider process that goes into it to get a good image. Yes, the rendering is quick, but to get a good product, there are steps before that which aren't counted in the rendering.
No.
For my own process, I'll spend time understanding the brief, building a classic brief. So I'll understand who's going to be using it, where's it situated, what are the kind of design languages that will be expected in this kind of space.
Design languages?
Yeah,
what do you mean by that?
So the design languages. So if it's in Zurich, it's going to have a different design language than if it's in Mumbai. Even if it's technically the same project, the design language changes to suit the occupants and the mise-en-scène that it sits in. I don't know if I've gone into a different direction there, but
no. But it's all about. Well, I know ChatGPT. A lot of people know. I think by now they worked in some way with ChatGPT to see what he can create of a text or in some way. But if you don't ask the right question to ChatGPT, you don't have the right settings, you get a horrible answer.
Yep.
Or it's not creative at all. It's like, oh, you literally took it from a boring website and I have to do this. This is what I need to use. Oh, like you can literally say to them, hey, this is boring. give me a better version. But in some way, the creativity is not there. I'm like, you have the whole world to pick from.
Yeah.
But sometimes this computer doesn't know what's creative at all. So then you are left with your own creativity, because if you just give them some ideas, then they can run in the right direction. And you can compliment the computer, and he's always happy with compliments.
That's also the refining process, because you have this education and you have this background and this sensibility. When you get the result, you say, "Oh, close, not quite right," and then you're editorializing it, just like you were an art director in a big studio. Your juniors come to you, they submit the work that they've done. You say, okay, you've come some way on the brief, but we need to keep tweaking it. And that's where your expertise comes in. So
yeah, and creativity then, because it's very useful if you are even creative with these robots to talk with them. Let's call it robots, because it's more humanized than a computer in some way. I do see it as a kind of robot, as somebody who can be in your team, can be really helpful, save you a lot of time. I will go over bigger advantages later on with you after you explain everything, how it might work. But I do see them that way. So Yeah, I'm literally curious how we can optimize the use of AI then in our business. So what is it? What kind of programs are you using right now? I know you from LinkedIn post, and if you don't know Kristoff D'oria di Cirie on LinkedIn, you better follow him because it's amazing what he's creating with AI images. He told me he's spending at least 5 hours on those kind of posts. So imagine what it means for you in the week, spending 5 hours on one post. And that's even with AI. I was so surprised by that because people might feel that it will take a few seconds because they think it's AI, they can do it in a few seconds. But no, it takes you to come up with the concept, come up with the right settings,
Sure.
experimenting, talking with this AI, and then coming to the final result. And not even to talk about the story, what's coming behind in the education, because it's never just a beautiful picture. That's why you were in the podcast. It's always the story behind why this works, what are the settings, what's the story beyond. And that's what I like so much. So it was a real eye opener. So I'm definitely have another energy with every like or comment I'm placing on your post, and I know, wow, Kristoff spent 5 hours to surprise us with this amazing work and insights on the design world. So, well, to that, which program are you using, and how does it start, this kind of AI project?
So I personally use Midjourney, and that's only because it's the one that I got to use earliest. It was the best on the market at the time.
Midjourney.
I have learned to use it in a way that I like. So there are other programs out there which are doing a very good job, and they're much cheaper. So if you looked at Midjourney and you thought the price was too much, there are free programs like Blue Willow, which is very good. Da Vinci is very good, and so is DALL-E. And I think with Bing Images, you get free credits. So you get free credits to use DALL-E 2, so you can get going with that if you like. But I personally use Midjourney. I think it is the best, but the gap between them it's narrowing a lot. And I think, like with any tool, if you use SketchUp, if you use 3ds Max, if you use even pen and paper, it's better to stick with one tool and get very good at that than jumping from the next one to the next one.
Good advice. Yeah, good advice. Yeah, definitely. So how does it start? Do you call it an AI job, or do you have a job without AI and with, or how is it involved, implemented in your life, in your designer life right now?
So in my professional life,
yeah,
it doesn't necessarily feature very often in submitted images to clients yet.
All right.
I am using it to add to flavor and inspiration packs. So where you've submitted concept images and you provide, references and kind of look and feel images, they are going into that mix in the same way that I would add researched and referenced case studies from different projects, to give an example. For the most part, right now, it's something that I use to get rid of bad ideas very quickly, and to get an idea of if a concept is worth pursuing at all before I move ahead with it. So that's how I'm using it mostly in my career.
Right. Yeah. So, well, how do you start the project? Let's take it on. You have somebody filled out your contact page or has contacted you, phoned you, your new client.
Sure.
Then what? What is it that you do?
How do you start any project?
Tell me, because I can imagine it's definitely different when you have this, when you're using AI, because you can go maybe quicker in the first phase, or is it something you're using later on in the phase? In which phase is it? Sketch design? Is it preliminary design? When do you use it? How do you start to communicate with AI and your clients? So, like they are in the same team, because that's what's happening.
So in the very first sense, I don't see the process as being different at all from pre-AI times. So the first thing you do with the clients is you speak to them. You understand their needs, you understand the process, and you understand the project. Without that, there really isn't a job.
So you don't have the right inputs, right? That's why
I
you,
don't have the right
want to know.
inputs, correct.
You want to know all about them, what makes them tick,
Yeah.
what it is that you need to do to create real impact, right?
And then I build, let's say, as I said, I'm not using AI for submitted images. So this is hypothetical. But it does relate to the way that I produce my concept pieces, which go on LinkedIn. So I can give you something. I would understand the needs, the requirements, the client themselves, who else should be using the space. And then, as I said, I would build a brief pack. And for me, that goes into everything. As I said before, the design language, the materiality. I'd look into saying things like, okay, are we using perspex or are we using glass? Are we using silk or are we using velvet? If we're using silk, we're using moire or we're using taffeta. I don't know. So it would be that granular. I'd even look at furniture designers or furniture brands. I'd look at different interior designers who might be a reference. Even thinking about, okay, if this project were being photographed by a magazine, which photographer would photograph it?
Wow.
Published by? Is it being published by Elle? Is it Condé Nast? Is it, I don't know, Town and Country?
And it has to do with the angle or the light use, or what? How do I?
Yeah, each publisher and each photographer will have a recognizable style which will influence the feel of the image.
Yeah.
So that is an aspect of producing these images for me, not for everyone, but this is a way that I like to give that control. And then once I've decided on that, I might even think, because I used to work in that industry a little bit, I'll think, okay, what specific camera are we using? Which camera settings are we using? And I might plan out each shot. So if I want 5 images, I'm going to say I want a close-up, I want a mid shot, I want a tilt shift, distance shot, and then I might want a lifestyle shot. So I would make a small, just with pencil and pen, a small storyboard and say, okay, shot number 1 is this, da 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 da, and these are the cameras and lighting equipment that I'll use. And from all of that, that can take me a whole day to do. In the same way that if you're building a case file for a client, it can take a whole day because you've got to research things, you've got to think about things, and then kind of put things together. And then,
so you go from your case file, you are going to design a brief pack.
Yeah.
And that's your kind of, it sounds like you're kind of a movie director almost, because you're really getting into this world. That's what happens with this AI for me. You have so many, although it's just a picture, but with all those drama and theatrical effects you can use, and it's like you are there. You can smell something almost, because first it's so realistic. It has nothing to do with sketches or you can see everything if you want. You can be as detailed as possible.
Thank you. And so for me, I like to do that process, not only to get control over the images, the end results, but also to keep myself strong, I suppose, to work those skills and to keep building them and improving them.
Yeah, well, designers, the famous quote, it's from Eames, it's designers in the details.
Yeah.
But I think when you act like that with AI, you can be a much better designer, because you have the possibility to think about all these details and to put it in your designs. It's not like you can forget something. If you have a cool brief pack and you tell yourself with a kind of checklist, I need to think about this. It's like it's the same with interior design. You know all the elements that go in a good interior design, and then you have a kind of detailed checklist of, hey, let's think about this activity. Did I solve it? Or what can I do with this material? What are the ideal solutions to work with that for functionality or aesthetics? So this is really systemized process.
Yeah.
So you get a kind of success recipe Because I love the sceneries you spoke about. You have a kind of close up, and then a full thing, and then a detailed one. And that's the same with interior design. If you create a mood board,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's the same with a mood board. You have the fabrics, you have the chair, you have the whole scenery. You can add some emotions to it, and that will do the job to make them feel what it could be.
And I think that whole process, I mean, using AI can be as simple and as slapdash as you want, or it can be as detailed as you want. You're going to get different results depending on how much pre-work you put into that. You really do need to look at tools like Midjourney as rendering engines. That's all they are. They're not going to create it for you. They might put something that they think you want, but you don't have the control, and you're not designing. You're just you're pressing a random wheel and hoping it comes out right.
But the cool thing is you are in control, because when you create a mood board and you just cut out pictures, that's really manually, but you do it digital and you collect some pictures. There's always some elements and feelings or sceneries, the views that I'm not happy with. That's why I don't use mood boards, because it's never what I mean with this feeling or warmth or light effects. But you can be the art director at the end with artificial intelligence, and you can add the same scenery, but then from a different point of view, you have your ultimate perfect picture.
That's how interior designers need to look at themselves, as not technicians working on a product. They are editorial leaders, they're art directors creating a space. So that's the shift in mindset that I hope everyone will take away when they're using AI. You're not cheating, you're not doing anything kind of speedy. You're shifting your mindsets. And I hope people will take it as an opportunity to stop worrying about learning plastic techniques, on how to use watercolors better, or how to use SketchUp better, and diverting them away from the main design skills that they need to get stronger at, improving their referencing, improving their understanding of different materials, improving their skills with clients. Everything that you're doing on SketchUp or even learning to do watercolors is a diversion from your real job. That's how I feel about it.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah. You told me how you work with Midjourney. It's like you started with Midjourney with the first settings from your brief pack.
Sure.
Then you end up with a 60% hit. You're like, well, we're going in the right direction. And then what? What's the next move, the next step?
So my next move could go different ways depending on what I think is wrong with the image. If it's a case of it's sort of there, but the feeling of the image is wrong, or there are people where I don't want them, I'll do something very simple and take the image into Photoshop. I'll remove the people, and maybe I'll just change some of the colors, or I don't know, or clip in things that I would prefer, and then put it back in as an image feed into the engine, and I normally get what I want.
Can you do that really roughly? Do you need to make it the perfect picture? Or can you just add a person inside and then they will make it better?
The better, the tidier you do it, the better the result will be.
All right.
But you can also sketch over it. So if you're not good with Photoshop, if you have a tablet and an Illustrator software, you can draw over it. You can even take a picture of a physical sketch and put it in as a reference image, which can help guide us along. I also use, because we've talked, I also use a lot of 3D softwares. So if I want something that's very specific and quite hard to give with verbal references, I'll make the scene, if you like, in 3D.
Yeah.
I'll make a very simple scene. So I'll put the buildings where I want them. I'll put different props where I want them, and I'll put that in as an image reference. And hopefully that'll move me along where I want. Yeah.
Just curious, how many pictures that are for you on 70% are in your library? Because we do see the best pictures on LinkedIn for sure. How many art pictures are in your library that are for you just on 70, 80, 90%?
I think I have something like 15,000 images I've made on Midjourney. So
All right. You have a lot of flight hours. Yeah.
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 But you know, oh gosh, what's happening with my lighting? This isn't just a one and done process. Even when you get the things that you want from the render engines or the AIs, you have to tweak them. That I think if you just use the tool to tell you what to do, then sure, it's fine. Do that. If you have a very clear vision and you're using it to help you create that vision, you are going to spend a lot of time refining the images.
Yeah. Do you think you become a better designer?
Yes.
With this process?
I think I have.
Yeah.
I think I have. Before I started using Midjourney, I would have a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration, which I would never explore, never, ever, ever. Because to do so, even with 3D tools, which I had gotten very good at, it would take me a week to create that image.
Yeah.
So you have to be much more selective. But now any errant thoughts, any inspiration, no matter how wacky, gets explored and gets explored fully. And sometimes there are lessons from there, and sometimes there aren't. And sometimes the lessons are never do that.
Yeah.
But really, I think it has made me better design because building the packs, because I'm not worrying about making the image, I spend more time thinking about the finer details. And these are some details that I probably wouldn't have considered. You know, I probably wouldn't have considered things like who's going to publish this living room image. And it seems silly and outside of what we do, but I don't think it is, because some clients, some of our bigger clients, are concerned. They do think, oh gosh, one day I'd love my home to be in the local lifestyle magazine or
So you use the shots that they normally take from these farmhouses, or exactly. If they want a cozy house and you are showing them a 2D floor plan from the top, they never get the feeling. So I can imagine if you ask them, what's your favorite moment of the week? One of the most important questions for me as a designer, because you want more of that. You want to design that moment. You want to be connected as a designer with that favorite moment, so they never forget about you. You want to create more of those. So if you're using those moments and you're imagining the client is sitting, well, let's say on the chair drinking their espresso at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with the sunshine just coming in, and you picture that interior design, well, are they going to buy that or not? It's exactly what they're looking for, and you are creating that because it's true what you are designing. But if you take another angle and you just show the chair with an empty wall behind it, and you forget about the scenery and the view, well, who's going to buy that? It's an easy one.
100%, but there is that editorial factor for some clients that I had never thought of. And there was one client who I had been talking to on and off for maybe a year. Just they sort of wanted to do something, but it never happened. And I went round to their office, and everywhere there was Wallpaper magazine. The magazine.
Yeah.
Everywhere, every single edition of Wallpaper magazine.
Collectors,
A collector. He clearly loved the aesthetic and the way that editorial presented design. So I took that magazine away and I rehashed old presentations in a way and a format and a styling that Wallpaper would have done.
Cool.
He bought straight away. So sometimes it's not even about the images themselves, it's the presentation style. And in that sense, thinking about that and using AI to help you replicate the way that a photographer or a magazine would present an image, helpful.
Well, you can create the way they would like to see the world. That's what you're doing for them.
It's that we always talk about lifestyle and process, and what do you do with the kids, and this is all very important, but we always neglect kind of ego satisfaction. And that's an element, when we've got a house and it's very important to us, there is an element of self-actualization. It's about making us having a space that affirms the way that we would like to be and the way that we would like to be seen. And
Yeah.
you know, for a lot of people, certain magazines and certain lifestyle magazines are a great way to do that. So that's sort of tangential, but I think that AI can help you present your work in a way that would be more easily identifiable to a client.
It's good that you say that people love to see a lifestyle that they are dreaming of, or they want to be like that. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with a prospect, and he told me, I want you to design the house for my future self in 5 years. And I never got the question, but he was very ambitious. He was busy lifestyle, but he was very clear about his principles in life, about his own terms. So he literally said that this is the person I want to be in 5 years, and I want the design to be the environment to get that I'm already there. It's like visualization, manifesting in your head, but he wants this tangible environment. I think it is amazing. If you want to be a better version of yourself, what do you need in your environment to be that version, to recognize every day, to watch in the mirror, to open your eyes in a bedroom that you know, hey, I can be this version. This is the proof. Yeah, it's amazing. But you can do that with Midjourney. You can take it to the next level with AI to show them.
You can open up the space by not worrying about the creating of the images to think about these things.
Yes, it's way more. It's all about this meaning and emotion.
Yeah.
Again, and that's you know, the philosophy, form follows meaning. It's all about this. What's the meaning of this image to your client, to them? Yeah, to take them to another, to create more impact. So, yeah, great. So, in short, some advantages of working with AI. It's time saving, definitely. Better communication with the client.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure that we've all had clients who have very strong opinions about,
let's call it that way. Strong opinions. Yes.
Very clear aesthetic ideas.
Or bad ideas.
Well,
or good ideas.
Well, this is sort of something that I don't use, but I can see the value in. There are lots of clients, and especially it's a reality sometimes at the lower end of design. We have clients who don't have an education in design, they don't have a lot of exposure to it. And it's very difficult for us to use industry language to explain to them why something isn't going to be effective or give the result that they think it's going to give. And using something like Midjourney is a very inexpensive, quick way of visually demonstrating to them why it's not going to work. So maybe that's a great way that it can help us communicate with clients.
But I said they have good ideas as well, but because sometimes they say, hey, what about this? What about this? And then in SketchUp, it's easy to change a floor plan. So that's the great thing of software. It's literally you can show them, if you are sitting on the couch, do you see more or less of the kitchen or what, or the workspace, whatever. So it's the same with Midjourney. You can show them or test it out, because I always like to see my client as part of the team, because they know their lifestyle. You're using their ideas, and if they can think you were this way, sometimes it's surprisingly good. It's the same with if you work in a design duo. Sometimes I tell Sven, like, no, I want to change this and this. He's better with all the apps and computers and technology, so he has way more flight hours in those drawing programs. So he's switching it, and then I say, no, that's not what I mean. But then actually, it works out really well. Can that happen with Midjourney as well? That you're entering something and like, wow, this is kind of cool. It's not what I mean, but
yeah, of course it can. Of course it can. There's lots of random surprises that you'll find.
Yes, random surprises. That's the word. Yeah.
Sometimes they're not what you want at all, and then sometimes you think, okay, actually, how do I add that into my original concept? And I guess that's the same with working with clients. Sometimes we're surprised by people who it's a blessing. If you're not educated and you don't have the background and you're not thinking about it every single day, you can also come up with some really unique ideas or solutions to problems. But yes, I do think though, when we have certain impasses with design choices, Midjourney would be a fantastic tool to use straight away to help overcome some of those roadblocks.
What about the showing them another advantage? We went to, sometimes you want to show them what it's really going to be, and sometimes the sketch phase is very powerful. People do have all these emotions about just a sketch, watercolor sketch, or just handwriting, whatever. And they agree with it, and then you can create it, and they have the reality. What about with Journey? Because sometimes with renders, it comes so close, maybe it's too perfect. Can they be disappointed with the end result, or how do you work with that? Because I can imagine the picture's so perfect with the right scenery, the daylight, whatever, that they would love to have it, but the end result is
Sure. Yeah. I would only, as I said, with clients directly, I only really use them if I'm pitching as mood and reference and suggestion.
yes.
And then I use a mixture of sketches and 3D renders for actual design proposals.
So it's really in the getting the right, trying to find the right mood or the right scenery. It's really literally part of the research more than that is the end result.
Yeah, I'm thinking now, because actually that's a good question.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah.
There are going to be clients who are incredibly visual and will respond very well to the kind of the drama and the emotive aspect of some of these AI images. The challenge will come that if you present that as product, as design product, the gap between that kind of perfect fantasy and the reality which will be delivered will be they'll be too separate, and you will never have a happy client. So yeah, tricky one there. I don't know. I would only give them as look and feel and reference, and not try to have them too close. Too close to the actual room. So let's say we're talking about they have a brief where they like two different kind of design concepts, where they, maybe they are in maybe their property is a 17th century Dutch farmhouse, okay? And they're renovating it, and they really love Japanese design. They love it. They went to Tokyo, and they're blown away by it, and they want it. This could be a great way for you to say, okay, maybe this is what it would look like if you just put it in there without any situation. This is what it could look like if you adapted it, scaled it back, maybe made it more accommodating to the original building.
Yeah.
And that would only be mood. That would not be product.
But that's wonderful, because that's exactly the way why you can add the right meaning to them, and the associations and the feelings and all this energy which is not tangible. You can add it in the design with this process.
Absolutely.
To see how you can use Tokyo and translate it to a Dutch farm. Yeah, but they will have those feeling and associations in it, and therefore it's really meaningful, and therefore it's more sustainable. They will like it more. They have they are the person they want to be. They have the right memories.
But then once they're happy with the kind of the look and feel of how those balance, then I think you start the traditional design process of that, as you would work in any other way.
And I think another thing is the advantage, the way you describe it, is to see it as a part of your process, this AI, that I get a lot of perfectionists in interior design. If it's not the end product, you can spend even 3 days more of this perfect render.
Sure.
But if it's just part of the process, start using it. Use it as a kind of tool in between to show them what it could be, and then continue with the end result. But just use it as a kind of digital mood board, and you have somebody in your AI is a new team member of you to create the perfect images, so you don't have to Google it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
I think it's actually much more interesting than Googling it or using Pinterest, because
it doesn't work anymore. They will remember what you will.
Like the same image from Pinterest.
Yeah, always. You never get inspired anymore, because they remember your algorithm, and then they show you more of what you're looking for. I'm always looking for new and strange, and That's not working anymore. Yeah.
I'm just reading Ilona's message. It's absolutely storytelling. It really is. And obviously, my main work is as an experience designer, where everything is about the narrative journey through a space. And I think that's something that's not considered enough in interior design. We focus much more on materiality, and we think about swatches and fabrics for soft furnishings and styling.
Yeah.
But don't really think about what's the story? What's the story of this living room? Yes, we're making practical functions about the way that they live their life, but what's the story that they're telling themselves about their life? So
that's a real powerful one. That's definitely beyond. What's the story they're telling themselves? Because it's not like, hey, we want a big dining table for 8 persons because then more people will join us at dinner. Yeah. No, that's not the case. A big dining table is not solving it. You have to change your more than in your lifestyle than just the dining table. So who are they want to be? Yeah.
It goes back to your case study of the client who wanted a home that reflected who he will be.
Yeah.
So that's narrative. You're designing his narrative.
Yeah.
I think AI is not going to do that for you, but I think by using it, you definitely open up opportunities to start thinking about these things. And when we think about AI taking away jobs, yes, it can take away your job and do a really good job of it if you are just a technician. If the only way that you view your work is as a producer of images and swatches, you will lose your job 100%.
Yeah.
If you start thinking about broader questions about how you design an environment for people and understanding some of these more challenging questions, you will have a job forever.
Is there an advantage if you are a more conceptual designer right now in these times?
I think so. Yeah. I think that the scales are very much tipping in favor of people who are conceptual and idea first. If you were purely technical, I think you are going to be left behind.
Yeah, and if you are, because of the, I can imagine AI will transform that they can add extra details to your design. If you're not a really detailed designer, there will be automation in future very soon, or it already is there, to give you the right details. If you have a custom-made wardrobe or whatever, they will come up with ideas for you, so you don't have to be the detailed designer anymore, which is what you can consider as the real expertise, or craftsmanship in the design. Absolutely. Maybe AI can take that job as well in the design phase. Is it?
Maybe. I mean, if you use ChatGPT and you type something like, give me a concept for blah, 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 I can predict you will get the same things. It will talk about, of course, you'll have to balance the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It never gives you a design stance. It sort of just takes what you said and says, of course, you need to consider that both sides will both be equally, and then talk about sustainability because, of course, and then talk about, reusable materials because, of course, and everything becomes a cookie cutter. Our jobs as designers is to understand the needs of our clients, and then to take a firm design stance. So yes, AI could get there, but I think it's a very good. It's an impersonation of a designer rather than actually designing.
I see. If you are really functional, I saw an app on my Instagram timeline. It was showing me in a few seconds that entering, I want to design a school, a secondary school with so many classes. This is the square meters I do have available, and it was literally popping up a floor plan, 3D rendering, and the whole technical drawing set was there.
That's the technical part of the job.
Yes, but it was amazing. You can do that in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
AI can do this with technical drawings for all schools. If you don't give something, let's call it that way, about the aesthetics or more about design, there is a computer who can do that for you in just a few minutes.
And I think we're only really looking at the tip of the iceberg. I think the biggest challenges to our job is not going to be in the concept. I know that ChatGPT is very impressive and it seems a bit like magic, but it isn't. And the biggest threat is going to come from the images themselves. That's where the biggest competition is going to come from. And they're already very good. And I have every faith that in 2 or 3 years, you will have output from someone like Midjourney, which is indistinguishable. It would be, for all intents and purposes, practically impossible to separate it from a real photograph. That's what I think is coming. And when you ask those questions, you have to say, well, what is left? What is left? It's your ideas, and most importantly, your relationship with the client. Because I think for a lot of clients, they have all the same tools as we do. They can go onto First Dibs, they can go onto made.com, they can go onto Pinterest, and they can put all these things together. What they want is someone to, well, number one, to co-sign their ideas. But more importantly, they want someone to ensure that the result is going to be what they want. And I don't think I think it's very hard to give that to a machine, and I don't think that's going to come for, if it comes, it's not going to come for a very long time.
No, but I can imagine it's about the same with those floor planner apps. People buy a new home, they download the floor plan, and the computer will give them a few options. And when they are okay with that, it works for them. But if you want more, you need an expert.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything more to say about that. Our role is going to be what it always has been. It's about working with clients and understanding their needs and fulfilling their requirements within the space that they have. Yes, certain AI tools are going to do quite a good job on that. But if you don't focus on the core, you won't necessarily be able to compete, I don't think. But then, no. I don't know, I think the people who would quickly throw away a designer for the use of an AI tool instead are probably the same people who wouldn't have hired you anyway. There are people who don't value design, and that's okay. And they probably wouldn't have been your clients anyway. So maybe you're not really losing any clients. I don't know. I don't know enough about the client psychology. Maybe there's someone who's much more experienced with that than me, but I think the people who choose to hire us are looking for a human element. And I don't think that's going away.
No.
But please don't focus on images. Focus on concept, that's all.
yeah, that's definitely the takeaway we need to do, because that's very, very useful. So your how do you say, your brief report or brief package, I think that's very important to get really clear what we are looking for, because everything can go so fast. You can go very fast in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Maybe you're losing not this months with the next design version, because we can create design versions in 1 hour. You can be 50 versions further with the AI. So that's the biggest change in history, what's going on right now. But then again, it's up to you're the visual translator. You need to adapt all their vague ideas and things into reality, and how to take that out, how to translate it, how to communicate it with that this is exactly what they need to do. That's up to the designer. Yeah, we're still not a screwdriver.
No, we're not a screwdriver.
We're not a screwdriver, no. Well, wonderful, Kristoff. So that's, I think, exactly the answer of what interior design, what our profession is in the future.
Can I ask a question of everyone? Those who aren't using AI image generators, do you think you might give them a go after this talk?
Yeah, let's put it in the
chat.
Put it in the chat. I see some heads. At least you can try it out, I would guess, with a free version of something. See what's going on. Yeah.
I can recommend some tools, even some free tools that you can use straight away if you don't want to, pay or sign up to something you don't want. View it as a liberating tool, not another thing for you to learn.
Let's put it on your special guest ambassador landing page, Kristoff, on instituteofinteriorimpact.com. We do have a page especially for you with your previous podcast episodes, and I would love to add some of these links over there, so
Amazing.
people can, if you're listening to the podcast, you're not here live with us right now, you can go there, instituteofinteriorimpact.com. You go to the inspiration to our blog, and you will find Kristoff with all his knowledge and expertise and links. So let's do that. So before you leave this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share with fellow design enthusiasts, and leave us with a review to let us know your thoughts. Would be very helpful. Your support means the world to us. So big takeaways here today about AI. We can still be a bit worried if we just think it's nothing. You cannot ignore it, in my opinion. You need to work with it and see how it can make a better designer of you. It's another way to humanize this robot, because if we are able to humanize this robot and to be friends with it, it will help us even. It will help us even more. I think so. That's what I think AI is going to be. It's going better and better because we teach this robot how to be more human. And that's the problem right now. And that's, I think, as well the problem why a lot of people hate technology, because it's not a human. You cannot, it's not communicating the same way. So the change is real. Change has always been here. So my advice is don't fear the change, but adapt as an interior designer. Thank you very much, Kristoff.
Thank you.
Great talking to you. If you have another subject coming up in your mind and you are researching it, I know you have big developments with your own company. You're launching big new ideas.
So I won't say too much right now, but it's a very exciting project, which is looking at adapting trends from the experience design industry into commercial interior settings. So that's hotels, restaurants, cafes, and stores. So how we can learn lessons from companies like Team Labs or Dream Machine and apply them to a customer environment.
Yeah, I'm very excited for you. I know you will do a great job there, and still researching and developing all the tools and discovering what's interior design all about. So keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here the third time. Thank you for being here in the live show with us. And please, stick with us, follow us, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your day. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, everyone.